Yeah. When I was just starting to like look into people who do YouTube and stuff, everyone was saying you have to
Mhm.
get a good mic, you have to get a good mic, you have to learn audio, you have to do the, you know, and yeah, it's. I'm glad now I have someone I can at least like ask some questions because on your own it's a lot. And how did
Yeah,
you
I mean,
learn by yourself?
I learned it the hard way. 4 years of trial and error with
Mm,
my channel. I don't know if you know my channel, Astrogate, بوابة الفضاء.
mm,
It's mostly about like science and space, and covering live streams of the space events, landings on the moon, and like
mm,
space launches and starship,
mm,
spaceships, and stuff like that, and explaining in Arabic. Like basically, there was a gap in the Arab world. There are no one to talk about this.
mm,
It's almost ignored,
mm,
and I think we started some hype in that regard that many other Arabian initiatives are trying to follow and try to compete with us, which is something I'm very happy about. It makes me feel that, oh, I made an effect, I made a
Yeah,
difference.
that's
So
actually crazy. So
yeah,
you're
I'm
saying,
happy about it.
like, I noticed like UAE has space station now or whatever, or like it's doing a lot more space missions. So you're saying like you kind of created the hype in the Arab world where people were actually excited about space, and well, no,
I
like
mean,
you
I mean
didn't,
online. I'm
you
not saying
contributed
like
obviously.
I'm not over stretching my own
Influence.
like influence. I know my limits, but basically, when we started with Astrogate
Mm,
4 or 5 years ago, there was no one else streaming any space events.
mm,
Now there are at least 12 or more Arab initiatives
okay.
that are doing this and trying to
Mm.
compete, which is really really a nice thing. So I think we made a difference.
But the space missions were going to happen either way. Why do you think UAE is launching into space? You know, we've never really been like a
Uh,
spacefaring people. You know.
I think it's a good idea to go into space because when people think about it, it's like they think it's something that is very far away. It doesn't touch us. It doesn't affect our lives. Why bother sending
Mm,
like the first ever Arab mission to Mars? It's like right now circling Mars in orbit of Mars, مسبار الأمل, Hope probe.
mm,
We actually live streamed the launch, and we explained exactly the mission, how it monitors like how Mars is losing its atmosphere and or lost its atmosphere, and we also apply that to Earth because Earth right now is also losing its atmosphere, but very very much slower than Mars did. So we can explain things. It's just, if you think about it on the general scale, like I've told you about this before, it's the overview effect.
mm,
Once you go to orbit and see Earth for the first time ever in your life, and you see Earth like that blue marble,
mm,
no borders
mm,
that show from space, no racism, no different colors and races
right.
or ethnicities or religions. Like we are all on one small ship that has a very thin atmosphere that is
Mm,
protecting us all, and you start to have these feelings that we are all on this spaceship together, and if there is a hole in the ship far away in Syria or in Afghanistan or in
mm,
Ukraine or in Yemen or in Libya, this hole in the ship is a risk to all of us. We need to all help plug it and to help restore the ship.
definitely.
Either we all survive or we all sink together, and that actually led, the overview effect actually led, when they took the first pictures of Earth from space, it actually launched the movements for like the humanitarian movements, a lot of human rights movements, and also the environmental movement. It was
Mm,
all launched and were very heavily influenced by the pictures of Earth from space. Uh, Also, the handshake between when the Soyuz and Apollo first met for the first time, rendezvoused and docked in space, and Russians or Soviet
mm.
astronauts and American astronauts first time ever shook hand in
Ah,
space.
okay.
That was marked as the end of the Cold War. So
Right. That's really
I'm
cool
I'm
because
I'm I'm hoping this would lead, this influence in science and space would lead to the same thing in our area, in our
I was
the
just
word.
gonna say that, I mean, okay, like, yeah, the International Space Station is like a huge instance where collaboration has been able to be achieved when you put politics aside. Like, we're able to achieve like some marvelous feats of space, but it was at first it was a Cold War, like this space race, right? That was part of the Cold War. So there's also nationalism involved in our country has to
Yes.
make it to the moon, like that's what that was all about. It wasn't just
Yeah.
about like
Planting the flag.
exactly.
Yeah.
And I'm sure UAE now, I'm sure like they're very proud of themselves and see themselves in a certain way as having although Syrians weren't we the first in the in space, first
We
Arabs in
were the
space?
second. The first was
Saudi
the
king, the king
prince
guy. Oh, okay.
Amir. No, not the king. He was a prince Amir. Amir Sultan. He was the first Arab in space. Then there was the free general, the Syrian general and pilot. The, he was the second basically, and then Sultan Niyadi, then Hazal Mansouri, the Emirati guy, then Sultan Niyadi. And by the way, if you like, I had an interview with رائد الفضاء السوري محمد فارس, the free Syrian general pilot Muhammad Faris. I had hosted him.
Wow.
I had the pleasure and honor to host him on Astrogate, and he talked a lot about how the Syrian regime was trying to actually assassinate him in order to allow for the combat, like the Plan B Syrian astronaut who was supported by the regime, and he was from a background.
The same
Alawite
sect
background from the regime, from the same sect, from
exactly.
the same, even it's not even sectarian, it's just because he is affiliated with the regime. So they tried to kill Muhammad Faris to actually
I read an article about this, and I remember actually like Muhammad Faris was the plan B, because the guy was definitely
he was the plan one, plan
he was
A,
the most qualified.
He was much better.
But he was
much
but
more
like
qualified
in the government's mind, he was never going to get it. Like they wanted to put they wanted to put the Alawi one. And there was a Druze guy too, right? Like that was like considered for it.
I'm not sure about the Druze guy, but I haven't heard about him. But I think like he was really so qualified. Muhammad Faris was really qualified that he forced the hands of the government to select him.
Yeah. That's like one of the ways that leads us into our discussion about Syria, that everything, as much as like space and stuff like can unite us, everything in Syria is politicized. Everything, like even sending a qualified person to space, they felt like, no, it's too empowering for this guy, so we have to send someone in my family so that people know like, oh, like I'm the one that's on top. That's what I feel like that was. It was all like a stunt to not make us feel empowered or something because an Arab Sunni was in space or something.
Exactly, that's exactly it. We are always like chained to politics whenever we go. Like even if we go stargazing, like I used to go with the Syrian Astronomical Society that we started. Like I was like from the early people who started to found this, and but I wasn't the first one. Dr. Muhammad Al-Usairi was the first one. I salute him. And when we used to go for like stargazing or whatever, like sometimes the checkpoints would just break our cameras and try to threaten us. But even if you have like the permissions required from different security branches, that you are allowed and you have permission to go for that stargazing trip, but they would just out of their mind just try to allow you in and welcome you and joke with you, or sometimes they would just, oh no. I don't know if it is bribe related, but I would
no,
say
it's money related. Like you have to pay them so that they
I know they usually do that, but I think it was more than if someone from this branch is trying to help you and facilitate something for you, and there is another branch that is actually competitive with it, they will try to hinder your efforts and to make sure that only if you work with us things will be easy for you. Like if you want your life to be easy, you need to work with us, not with the other branch, because security branches of Assad regime in Syria are not collaborative. They are very competitive, and they try to even hide information from one another, sensitive information, try to dig holes for one another.
And this is all just a curated way to make sure that nobody ever coups the president. You know, he's made sure, like, from what I understand, the regime has parts of it that is pro-Iran and parts of it that are pro-Russia. So like even his like greatest allies are against each other, so that no one is able to collaborate against him.
Yeah, exactly, and they try to show that, oh, I am the one doing more work. I'm the one, even if they fake things. Like sometimes they fake reports that are not even there. Like just today, I watched a video investigation from Baladi network, and they are talking about how they uncovered really early years of the revolution, highly classified documents. And those documents are reports written from security branches and even the top of the security branches, talking about very, very stupid and silly things like you wouldn't believe, like things that are people are like taking, for example, one meme, you know, on Facebook. A certain person posted a meme on Facebook that we are going to print the money with the Al-Aroor, Sheikh Al-Aroor. You know, the early one, the Al-Aroor, the one who tried to write the revolution, tried to swerve it into a sectarian war, and he managed to do a part of that partially. But anyway, so that man, they were like making fun of him and saying that, oh, we will print his image on the money instead of Assad's father, you know, the Hafid al-Assad. Yil'an Ruhu, of course.
Yeah.
Always when you say Hafid al-Assad, you need to say Yil'an Ruhu. Okay, damn his soul, curse his soul. Anyway, that's a must if you are a Syrian, or else they will take your nationality away. I'm joking, but you should do it. So those people in the security branches actually believe that this meme is a true thing, and they try to even like spin a theory, like a conspiracy theory out of it, and try to really make it huge. And they got it up to the head of the branch, and this branch actually issued a generalization, highly classified report that that they need to search in the market, especially in Latakia and Tartus, for those types of money and
oh my God,
confiscate them. It's like they spend a lot of money, a lot of resources, a lot of men searching for this
meme,
fake meme, you know. It's just,
and it's interesting, like I don't know where that Al-Aroor, like, because I wasn't in the Arabic language. Like I wasn't watching a lot of Arabic language media in 2011 and 2012, so I didn't know like these very specific stories. I kind of started researching it more like 2020, and that's where I started getting called Al-Aroor by a lot of guys, and I was just like, what does that even mean? I don't know who that is, and I see that in videos of the regime like messing with people they call opposition soldiers or rebels in general or dissidents. They call them Al-Aroor. How is that? I don't understand. Like, I thought it was like a bad word, but it's literally just the name of the guy.
Yeah, it's the name of the guy. It sounds bad because, like in Arabic, Al-Aroor, it sounds similar to some curse, but it's not even a cuss or
that's what I thought it was.
word.
I thought it was like,
yeah.
What does it mean? You know?
Yeah, the issue is that it's like when they try to spin something and just they try to find something bad about the revolution. They like it was for 6 months, the first 6 months, and even after it was very peaceful. And today, for example, the demonstrations in Sweden are very peaceful. They are very civil. They are very, like, you cannot spin anything to like any propaganda against them. Like, it's very hard for the regime to spin anything against the revolution. So whenever they smell a hint of sectarianism or anything like that, they would really hit hard to amplify it. So Al-Aroor is someone that we didn't even hear about. Like the revolution, people from the revolution like me and you, like they didn't even hear about him or know what that guy is. But now when you go to the regime media and regime propaganda, you would have a feeling that, oh, there is no revolution, it's only Al-Aroor conspiracy. There is Al-Aroor grand plan, universal plan, as they call it, Kauniya, like the universe is collaborating against and conspiring against Assad. So they make it sound that Al-Aroor is the one doing all of this, and there are no people, there are no agency for the people on the ground and in the streets.
It's you know what it reminds me? It's like when people talk about actually it's the same thing. People say that the Syrian revolution is all Muslim Brotherhood, but in the States, people
Yeah.
bring up Muslim Brotherhood to be like Islamophobes specifically. They bring up Muslim Brotherhood as if they're like the Illuminati, you know what I mean? They say like, oh, like they must be behind the Islamization of the West, or you know that they're trying to make a caliphate in the West. And everyone that like is into conspiracies has these kinds of you know, what's it called? A thought stopping cliche. You know, it's
Yeah.
like when you just say like, oh, they're al-Aroor, like I don't need to think too critically about like what they're saying.
Yeah, it builds a shield that doesn't allow any logical thinking to pierce through your ideology, so you can stick with your ideology and just run with it.
And
basically, personally, I'm accused by many to be a Muslim Brotherhood, even though I'm not even a Muslim. I'm from a Druze background, you know, and I'm not even Druze, you know, religiously speaking. I'm just culturally Druze. I'm proud of it, but from Sweida, but I'm south of Syria, but I'm not even religious, and I'm not even Muslim. In the like, even Muslims wouldn't consider Druze to be Muslims. You know, we say we are Muslims, but that's not an agreed upon fact. You know.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I get death threats from Muslim Brotherhoods because I expose their like, you know,
people.
The way, the dirty ways they try to swerve the revolution into a sectarian war instead of the human rights and freedom and dignity.
Yeah. I was gonna say something. People. It's literally like Islamophobes in the West. Because before I researched into Syria, I was more concerned about politics here in Canada, where I live. And that was my biggest thing, is like trying to battle Islamophobia here. And there's so many similarities. I mean, like I've been called Osama, you know, and it reminds me a lot of people calling you like al-Aroor in Syria, because it's basically like at its heart, a lot of it is Islamophobia, to be honest. And even though like it's coming from Muslims, because think about it, like Daesh, who did it hurt the most? Like who are the people
only
most
killed Sunnah, basically.
Yeah, like the majority.
It attacked Suwayda once, you know, and it was really brutal attack. They attacked in the hours of early dawn, and just before their attack, by the way, Assad cut all communications hours before the attack. Assad cut the power and communications of all over Sweida governorate. And days before the attack, he actually confiscated all the medium and heavy weapons from his militia in Sweida, east of Sweida. And 2 months before the attack, Luna Shibl, you know, the advisor, the media advisor of Assad, who she's the composer and the author of all this Assad agenda. By the way, she was like a very prominent anchor of Al Jazeera, but when the revolution started in 2011, she just defected from Al Jazeera and went to Assad to be an advisor, a media advisor. And she is originally from Sweida, by the way. She's a Sweida person, but she hates Sweida, and she actually sent a threat to the people in Sweida that if you do not send your youth to serve in the Assad army and go fight in Dar'a and kill your own people in Dar'a and Homs and Idlib, we will not protect you if ISIS attacks you soon. 2 months after ISIS attacked, and they wanted us to send. Back then there were about 55,000 young men from Sweida, including myself, who refused to go risk their lives to flee the country or even to hide from Assad regime, refusing to serve in the army. Because if you go to serve in the army, you have two options only: either you shoot on your own people, on your own, like the civilians in Idlib and Hama and Homs and Damascus and Aleppo, or Deir ez-Zor or Hasaka, like you need to kill your own people, or if you refuse, you will be tortured to death. So
Yeah, they said that there used to
Yeah.
be two lines in protests of police. There would be the first line of the new guys and the line
Mhm.
behind them of the old guys. And if the new guys don't shoot at protesters, then the guys behind them will shoot them.
They would shoot them. Yeah, basically not new and old. Rather, they put the
Soft.
people who the people who might sympathize with
Mm.
with the Syrian revolution in the front row,
Mm.
and those would be mostly Sunnah or Druze,
Mm.
and the people behind them would be people who are very loyal to the regime, and they don't have to be Alawite only. Like they might be also Sunnah or Druze
Yeah.
or whatever, but they are very loyal to the regime. That
Yeah.
so loyal that they would shoot their own mothers
Yeah.
for the regime, to keep the positions and the advantages they have.
Yeah, man.
Right now, by the way, in Sweden, there are more than 70,000 to 75,000 young men who refuse, because every year there's a new generation that
Right.
is refusing, like
Of
thousands
course.
of young men that are refusing to serve the army, and they are going through really risky situation to avoid being murderers and genocidal criminals.
Mm-hmm.
Like my own cousin had to flee when he once he finished his last year in university. They start to search for you, to drag you, to draft you
Right.
to the Assad army, and they deliberately, I don't know how to pronounce the word now. Deliberately try to actually defer the delivery of your certificate, graduation certificate, until beyond the date of your draft, so you would be sure to be drafted. And that's why I graduated from MA, master's degree in interpretation, by the way, simultaneous interpretation for conferences, but I don't have the certificate.
Oh no.
If I want to have it, they say I need to go and collect it myself, and I'm like, you can
Nice try.
you can put it where the sun doesn't shine. I don't want it anymore.
Okay. Wow,
yeah,
man.
but the thing is,
okay. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, the thing is, the thing is, the really like funny thing about this, that they actually gave me an award, a merit award, like what do you call it, like the award with the made of
Trophy?
brass,
Trophy?
yeah, trophy or something like that. They made me, like, they gave me that, but they didn't give me the certificate, which is very ironic.
Because
So my cousin,
yeah. No, go ahead.
I'm just continue the story. My cousin went actually risked his life to go all the way to Idlib in order to go outside from Syria, thinking that Idlib would be sympathizing and with him and helping him, but the Jolani controlling Idlib actually arrested him, and for a whole month. And after a lot of tries, he was almost about to be decapitated by Jolani, only because he's from Druze city of Jaramana. Like Jaramana and Sweida, they are basically mainly
Jolan
Druze.
is from Jolan, bro. His name is Jolan, like.
Yeah, exactly, and only because this person is a Druze, so he is infidel, so we need to kill him. And I'm like, come on, guys. So the Islamophobe, they are right about those specific like specific people like Jolani or Qaeda or those people, but when you try to generalize it to the 99% of Muslims, they are all kind and protective and nice. You cannot generalize.
Or try to paint the revolution as if that was always the goal. That was never the goal, and very few people even consider that the goal now. Much more people just really want the end of the regime and for peace and hopefully some sort of government that's actually accountable to the people. But it's always like Jolani is a bad person, and we know that. Like there was protests recently, just yesterday, in Al-Balous. But the thing is, like, when he systematically murders people in Idlib, no one cares. When there's a minority that he's killed, that's when everyone is like, oh, there you go. But there's so much injustice in Idlib going on with any civilian, and I wish I could explain to people how, like, the biggest Islamophobes are Muslim, because they hurt, like, oftentimes the people who hurt Muslims the most are Muslims, and even in the
Yeah.
same sect, like not different sect.
Exactly. And just to paint the opposite side of the picture, which is the 99% of Muslims, I owe my own life to people in El Midan neighborhood in Damascus,
Mm,
who literally protected me and risked their lives to protect me from arrest, saved me from, like, really raced to try to protect people and try to save them. People in Yarmouk, I live in, I was born and lived my life in Tadamun, south of Damascus.
mhm.
I originally come from Sweida. My family comes from Sweida, but I lived my life
Yeah,
in Tadamun.
mm,
Yeah, in Yarmouk, the same Yarmouk that of the famous picture for your viewers or listeners, when you have like a lot of people crowding to with a lot of with a street that is destroyed on the side. This
mhm,
street is one of the most like one of the best and most crowded markets of Damascus before Assad destroyed it with barrel bombs and
mhm.
airstrikes. It is one, like, if you want to go and get like the best brands and clothes or the fanciest restaurants, you would go to Yarmouk street.
Mhm.
So anyway, in Yarmouk, if you think about it, like, people were racing Palestinians, a refugee camp for Palestinians who fled Palestine after the Israeli massacres and genocides of 1948, basically, and the ones before it, like 36,
Mhm.
1936 and 1948. They went and started the camp in Yarmouk. And then those people and the generations after the actual literal refugees, they still have this within them, this feelings within them of that they identify with anyone who is forced to be displaced.
Mhm.
So when Assad started like bombing Tadamon and Midan,
Mhm.
people ran to hide and to were like forced and fled to Yarmouk.
Mhm.
And people in Yarmouk, the Palestinians who are Sunnah as well, they tried to really risk their lives to save people, even like driving, like trying to shout in with megaphones, with microphones for like 10 or 12 the pickups, Suzuki pickups,
Mhm.
the white ones, to go in a, I don't know how to describe it. It's like you are going to risking your life, like knowing that there is a real chance of being dead. They go into the middle battle zone, try to rescue civilians who are stuck there and bring them back to safely to Yarmouk. And it's very, very dangerous thing, and many of them got shot and wounded, and many of them got killed,
Mhm.
but they were ready to do that. Like, people are not they are heroes, not
Yeah. And
people to be
from
afraid
what I
of.
understand of that region, like, because I'm from Damascus, right? Like, my mom, every time they talk about their history, like, actually just yesterday, like, because I was asking them about Midan, because
Mhm.
I don't know much about like specific neighborhoods. Dan, my parents explained how like it's basically like on the outskirts of Damascus, and a lot of people from
Mhm.
the south traveled there and settled there because they would travel in and out of Damascus a lot, and then eventually a lot of
Yeah.
people just ended up settling from southern Syria into southern Damascus, right? Um,
Yeah, but now they consider Midan is like from the old Damascus, from inside the original city now.
oh,
Yeah.
okay, okay, so it's not considered on the outskirts anymore.
Yeah, because there are so many outskirts. Even Tadamon, that started as an outskirt, now is
Right,
considered like from the city, and
right.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's expanding basically.
and my family, like yesterday we were talking about like what, how they, like, I asked them, how were your interactions with other like religious groups or ethnic groups, and they said like nobody knew what anyone's ethnicity was or sect was. Like, no one asks and no one says anything. So she, like, my dad said like, oh, I knew this Shia, and he mentions her name, and then my mom's like, oh, she was Shia. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
they had no idea who was Shia and who was not, because no one talks, no one says anything, and
yeah,
it was just like we just treat each other as Syrians.
yeah.
We're not a very like naturally sectarian people. The regime really made us into kind of suspicious in general. Not even that we have prejudice in general, but it's just that the suspicion of every individual possibly being with the government has, increased that. But I feel like also there was a lot of discussion about when the Sweida protests picked up about how the revolution should react or respond, and obviously we should be in full solidarity. But some people were like, like, took you this long, and there's going to be like a process of reconciliation, I think, after Assad is gone someday, inshallah, that we're going to have to understand that a lot of us stood by and did nothing while everyone was dying, you know. But there's there's no like blueprint for it, except you can look at previous examples of Rwanda, for example,
or South Africa.
Yeah, it's not going too well there either. But like, I use Rwanda as an example because they overcame like a huge like massacre and genocide, and then like 20 years later, like the country seems like it's way ahead of anyone around it. Whereas South Africa was always kind of I don't know if it was industrialized, but I feel like and also because
in imbalanced way, basically industrialized and imbalanced way, basically
imbalanced. Yeah. But no, I think just in terms of after the revolution, like, we're going to have to understand, I don't know, do you think like there should be like trials for anyone who collaborated with the regime, or there should be like amnesty after, so we can just kind of let it all go, sort of?
I thought really deeply for long years about this, okay? And I'll tell you why in a bit, but let me start with that Syrian revolution and the regime brutality are unmatched in human history. Like, I claim to be someone who reads a bit about history, knows a little bit about like even ancient civilizations. I don't remember coming anywhere close to this type of brutality. Like even the Holocaust that Hitler committed, it was more clean, distinction between who is a Nazi, who is a racist, or who's a criminal, and who is a victim. Here it's a bit, of course, the Assad regime is very clearly the genocidal criminal, and the main one, by like 95% of victims and people who were tortured to death, and the deaths even among children were by the Assad regime. But there are other collaborators, basically, like ISIS, or even some of the radicals, or and even SDF, Syrian Democratic Forces, Syrian Democratic Forces. Okay, so too ironic to avoid like putting the quotes for that. So they actually do a lot of like violations against human rights as well, and even copying the same techniques of the regime. So when we talk about justice and like holding those people to court, I really believe that if we don't figure out a way to actually deliver trials for everyone who committed any blood or murder, we will not, like, this will not, the revenge cycle will not end in 100 or 200 years. Okay, we need to find a way to actually you can think about it as a method to actually heal the wounds and go steps toward peace, basically, and a future shared by all of us. We as Syrians, we didn't have any sectarian differences, or any differences at all, because one part of that is really good news, because it was actually the nature of us as Syrian people, that we didn't treat people based on their background of, if the cultural background or religious background or even racial background. We don't have any of that. We don't see that, which is a good thing, and it showed in the revolution. Even till now, even 12 years of really brutal and sectarian, like the regime is trying to do everything to really put this sectarian division between us. And up till this moment, the Sweida protest started in Sweida. Then the next week, you find the Druze flag, the five colored Druze flag, flown in the most radical Sunni town in the North of Aleppo, and saying, we are with you, Sweida, we are with you, we salute you. You know, it blew my mind. I never imagined in my whole life to see such a moment. It made me literally cry, because it's really different. Okay, someone is ringing me. I need to just.
No problem.
The other thing is, yeah, sorry. The other thing is that after like having this experience, there is some negative in it that we need to actually like spell out, which is, people are, when they look at us and they see us not mentioning sectarianism at all, the regime literally actually wiped away and erased any religious identity you have, or cultural identity. We're not allowed to even play Sweida folk music, which is very nice, and now it is getting really common and popular with all over Syria, because they hear it now in the in chants and in protests and in the peaceful protests in Sweida. They are wondering and like surprised, but oh, this is really nice music. This is new music. How come we didn't hear this before? I'm like, this is our culture, but we were not allowed to express it. And now under the revolution, we are trying to express it. The same applied to Homs. The same applied to Idlib, to Halab, to all of the other cities, and Deir ez-Zor, Hasaka. The Kurdish people, they were not allowed even to speak their own language in the university. For example, I had a friend, a really dear friend, who is. I used to call him jokingly Broki Shiar, because he was the brother of Shiar. So I do that in Kurdish. Broki Shiar. Shiar is like the lion in Kurdish.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he was really a dear friend of mine, and I didn't know that he was Kurdish until like few months in the friendship. Only because he was not allowed to speak Kurdish in the university, and if he only started to speak Kurdish with me, or even teach me some of the words in Kurdish, once he started feeling safe that I will not report him to the regime. So imagine the way, like the identities were suppressed, the religions were suppressed, but only the radical version that the regime wants was allowed. You would find the Qaeda religion all over the place. But if you think about it and you dig deep about it, those people who actually lead those radicals and even send them in groups to fight in Afghanistan or in Iraq or whatever, those are actually agents of the regime. And I was shocked to see that personally in the first demonstration ever in Damascus. It was the second week of the revolution, exactly the Friday of 1st of April 2011. I was still an Assad supporter, not by supporter, like I know that the regime is bad. I know it is corrupted. I know like all Syrian supporters or not, they know that. But I always thought that, oh, Assad is actually educated in Great Britain and in the UK, and he is a doctor, and he sounds someone who is, civilized and informed, and he wouldn't be as bad as his own father. He would try to, even try to trick people into, resolutions and stuff like that, and he would solve it without shedding any blood. That's how I was expecting him to do. And then when I was like, we were getting like videos from what is going on in Der'a. We only got that 2 weeks later, because the only way we had to actually know anything that is going on in Der'a is through videos that were sent from a Nokia old phones through Bluetooth. So it was sent by person to person until it reaches you. So it would reach you like a week later, in the first month of the revolution. That was the case. So when we used to get those videos, we really thought that, oh, maybe the regime propaganda is correct. We didn't know that maybe those are fake or whatever. We needed to see for our own. So the first demonstration was in Kfar Sousa and the 1st of April, and I went there to see for myself, and I saw and was shocked, really shocked by the brutality. Like more than 6 people of the security against one protester. Each protester, there are 6 times the numbers of security forces, and they even faked a demonstration, a supportive demonstration. They brought like a huge Suzuki with pictures of Assad and flags and whatever, and they tried to take the camera angles and the way that it would make it sound, and that the whole demonstration is supporting Assad, even though covering the really part in front of the camera, and only the audio of the supporters is heard, but the people in the background, they are shown like chanting, but they are chanting like for Dar'a. There was even not chanting against Assad. It was just like, we support Dar'a, we want freedom. It wasn't against Assad per se directly then. And I was really shocked. Then they started like they came like 4 generals and 1 mufti. They came and they gave them immunity or peace, that if you go out of this break this hours long set in the mosque of Kfar Sousa, we will not arrest anyone, we will not follow anyone, we will not do anything. But literally they were guiding them into a trap. They arrested every single one of them, and even they started like the security, they started to say silmiye, silmiye, silmiye. The security forces, the Assad, peacefully, peaceful, which is a chant by the revolution. When they chanted that, the revolutions, the people, the rebels, not the rebels, like the peaceful protesters, they started to think that, oh, they are echoing our own chants for peacefulness. So, oh, they really mean it now. And they were very, very soft-hearted and kind-hearted, that they actually believed them, and went out and they were really beaten really hard and arrested every one of them. And no single video survived that, because everyone who tries to take a video, I tried back then to try to take a video, but just a moment before I opened the camera of my phone, it had like a tiny click near the camera in 82, it started recording by a click. Anyway, before I do that, they actually shouted at one that was recording from his balcony, from his window, the 4th floor. And the one who actually witnessed him was a very Salafi Sheikh, a very Salafi. And you can say like about 15 to 16 Salafi Sheikhs with like the tiny, the short Gallabiya and the big, huge beard and stuff. They were the ones guiding the groups of Talaba, Shabiha. So they were actually pointing out, monitoring the other security forces are beating the protesters. Those are looking at the other way, monitoring all the buildings surrounding the square of Kfar Sousa. And if your curtains like a little bit like shakes, they would just point to it. And the Talaba, which is like the university students who work for the regime, student union, a security branch, they would jump and get that person in 10 seconds. It would be from 4th floor to down, without elevator, of course, just throwing him on the stairs down. And they would beat him until I heard like the bones cracking. I cannot forget that moment. It was, my eyes were about like to burst out with blood, out of anger and but I was so helpless and so coward that I couldn't even, like my hand opened the camera, but it got stuck in. I couldn't take my mobile out of my pocket. Like it just, I froze, and I still feel really emotional about that moment. I feel guilty about it. I feel so coward about it. But at the same time, if I had taken my phone, you wouldn't be speaking to me right now. You would see me in Caesar photos.
Yeah. There's no about the student union. There's also like even teachers in middle schools and high schools were apparently attending protests with students and then going on to report who they were to the regime. And a lot of students trusted their teachers and then got ratted out to the government.
That even takes me back to the like sectarian fear that the regime planted in between us. When I went to participate in demonstrations in my own neighborhood in Tadamun, people started to try to avoid me or hide their face from me, or even though like they are my neighbors, only because I am from Sweida, I am Druze, and I am automatically suspected to be a spy for the regime. Like they wouldn't if there is like 1% chance that I might be working with the regime, they wouldn't risk their life on that. They wouldn't bet their life on that. So they would try, even if they know me, even if they wouldn't do that. Even later on, this like quick demonstrations, especially in the night, they started to move and do it from like our street would go and protest in the other side of the hood, the neighborhood, and that side would come and protest in our street, only because to make it harder for the spies and agents of the regime and the local agents to actually identify our faces and names. So it was like that. So basically, most of the demonstrations I participated in were like in Midan and in Kafar Sousa and other neighborhoods. I didn't even participate much in Tadamun. The same applies to people from Sweida. Like they say, oh, Sweida didn't participate from the first. Actually, there are huge groups of Suwayda people, men and women, who actually went and participated even up to Homs in Damascus, in Barze, in Ghouta, Douma, Daraya, everywhere. And even the daughter of Sultan al-Atrash, the most famous figure, the man of independence, Syria's independence. He is like the sheikh from Suwayda who actually led the independence, great revolution, great Syrian revolution of independence. And this man, okay, his daughter, Muntaha al-Atrash, we call her Princess Muntaha al-Atrash because she inherits the prince title from her father. So Princess Muntaha al-Atrash actually participated in Douma and Ghouta and in many places. The peaceful friends of mine, I really salute them as well, the Zaour sisters, who are also from Sweida, from Jaramana. They also wore the bridal dresses and went in the peaceful demonstration in Hamidiyya market in the heart of Damascus, in front of Shabiha checkpoints. Like imagine how brave you need to be to do such a thing. I couldn't believe, like I would never be able to do it in 100 lifetimes. So they participated. Sweida in the first week, even before any other, or maybe let me not say before, but like alongside with the first demonstrations in Homs and Banyas and those areas and some parts of Latakia, the Suwayda held the first ever sit-in, demanding the breaking of the siege over Dar'a in the first week, and that was in the lawyers' unions in Suwayda.
And so no, like the revolution part, like when it was protests, everyone was excited, and I'm sure like everyone was cooperative and found comfort in each other and helped each other out. I don't doubt that. It's that the armed resistance is kept to itself. They didn't decide to make a coalition with the rest of Syrians, and it's interesting to me, like how seeing the evolution of how the Druze minority responded versus how the Kurdish minority responded, but I think like the Druze in Syria, they don't like there's Druze in Palestine, there's Druze in Lebanon, and there's Druze in Israel, and like and just like how there's Kurds in Syria, Kurds in Iraq, Kurds in Turkey, and Kurds in Iran. And so, but Druze don't have this idea that they want to form a state or that they want separation, but they do, but they have de facto autonomy because they were willing to defend themselves. Yeah,
the thing is, we do not think of anything like in Sweida as, oh, they need federalization or separation, whatever. We don't have. They even actively hold signs and banners against that, okay? Because we are always accused of this, and even though we don't have any signs of it. During the French mandate on Syria, the Druze were forced. They were not like they weren't even given the choice to choose this. But France made a specific Druze state for them in Sweida. But they, Sultan al-Atrash, the man of the independence, and his colleagues from all other governments of Syria, they dismantled the local states and unified Syria again. So we are very proud by the fact that people from Suwayda are the people who unified Syria. So we wouldn't we would shed blood to protect that country that we protected and we helped led to independence. We always feel the thing, like the borders between us and Jordan and Palestine and and Lebanon. It's never a true border for us because it wasn't made by the people of the area. It was just drawn by a pencil and a ruler on a map by a French general and a British general, Sykes-Picot. So it was never like a real thing or a real separation of culture.
But can you travel?
We share more. No, we cannot. Like, it's now independent states, of course.
Yeah.
But I mean, in terms of culture, in terms of language, in terms of songs, we share more in culture and songs and habits and and norms with the north of Palestine and the north of Jordan and the mouth of Lebanon than we share with people from Homs or Damascus or Aleppo. Okay. But that's culture, that's songs, that's accent, the dialect, the food, the cuisine, but it's not a political thing for us. We don't feel we want to live alongside with other people all over all over Syria, because we think about them as our brothers, our sisters, and that was evident. Yeah.
I think it's lagging. You're frozen.
Can you hear me now? Can you?
Yeah, I can hear you. But
okay.
Yeah. Sorry. Continue.
Yeah. So basically, you can see that evident in if you look about the reason why 55,000 young men in Sweida decided to risk their life in order not to kill their own people. Basically, we think of them as ahlna, our own people, our own extended family.
Right.
So we would not go, and I would not point my weapon against like my brother in Homs or my brother in Damascus or my brother in Aleppo. That's how we think about it. Of course, the regime is still, even though there is no sign of calling for independence, they always, or for separation or whatever, or federation or anything they want to call, they still try to spin that conspiracy as if it's a true thing.
Yeah, and they do the same with Kurds. Like technically, the Kurds are not seeking a state, but because Öcalan, like Abdullah Öcalan used to say he wants a state, and then he changed his mind. But the way that they go about it is in a way that a government would try to gain authority over people in a state and give them citizenship and stuff. So like it and so I think like is there like a PKK equivalent for the Druze in any way? Like,
yeah, that's the thing. There is no PKK equivalent. The PKK or the SDF, Syrian Democratic Forces in northeast Syria, they have the same agenda of Öcalan, which is to make a Rojava state or an independent Kurdish state, and we don't have that in Sweida, and this is not applicable to all Kurds. Like, not all Kurds are PKK, and not all, it's not equivalent. That's, Western media always
exactly
put them in the same
and that's
basket,
why we said specifically SDF, PKK. We're not saying Syrian Kurds, but we're just saying that the parties that are leading this front in the current conflict, they're not aligned with Syrian Kurds.
But you cannot deny that the PKK agenda is actually gaining some followers among the Kurds, because the Kurds have been really like oppressed for long times during the time of Hafez al-Assad, curse his soul, and during his son Bashar al-Assad. So they were really like even denied to have an ID. Like even
Yeah.
when they protested in 2004
Yeah.
for a Syrian ID, they were shot and they were killed.
Yeah.
They
weren't
were
allowed to
denied the basic rights. Like they
Yeah.
are not allowed to sing their own folklore language. They
or
are not
teach in
allowed to
school,
speak their language or teach it
or be in
or have any
politics.
cultural.
You're also excluded
Huh?
from politics. You're not allowed to be.
Yeah, of
Yeah.
course, politics. Everyone was excluded from it. Like,
That's
of course,
a good point
there was
too.
no politics. You know. Yeah.
Everyone was excluded from politics. Well, no,
Yeah.
but like you could be an Arab politician, but like if you're
No.
in a Kurdish party,
You only need to be a security agent or someone who is informant for the security agents to be able to run for
okay, but see, this is the thing: is Syria
Yeah.
is an oppressive country on its own.
Yeah.
See, this is how again we're talking about all Syrians in a way that is like it's okay if the majority is oppressed, that's normal. But if these people get oppressed in a certain way, like this is when we have to correct it.
Yeah, exactly.
This is what's so
And
frustrating.
the issue with the Kurdish cause is that even though I truly think that if they want the Kurdish want, if they want to have their own state, it's up to them. I'm not here to force my own rule over them. Like that's occupation, okay, by definition. But I wouldn't say that a terrorist and armed group like SDF can be the right step in that direction. Okay, it's not. If you want to do that, we need to have like to put the weapons aside and to allow the people to vote on this, to have a referendum or to have to listen to the people. The problem here with the Kurdish people actually falling more in for the agenda of separation and the agenda of federation or whatever agenda the PKK is trying to spin, is that because they were really denied in a very bad way. Even like the name of the country is the Syrian Arab Republic.
Yeah.
Why do you have Arab in the title? Like even that is very, very like, you know, you are just pushing them. You are just like hitting on their nerves to do that. So it's only normal for them to have this reaction to be radical in the opposite side, in the opposite way. But I'm not saying all of the curse. I'm saying like some of the people who actually fall for the fake independence that the SDF sells. And in the first years of the revolution, actually the Kurds always waved the Kurdish flag and the Syrian revolution flag on top of it. Both flags were waved on the same pole. And they even, for example, when they call like freedom, then they say Azadi in the Kurdish. All of Syria chose to name one of the Friday protests Azadi. So we all chanted in Kurdish because we all thought of ourselves as one people.
Exactly. And this is
Syrians.
This is it. We are one people, and like with the Druze minority in the south, they have a specific, like it's called literally Jabal al-Druze, the Druze mountains, right?
Yeah.
Like this whole area.
We prefer to call it like Jabal al-Arab, the Arabs mountain.
Really?
And Arab is not a racist thing. It's not about like the race of Arabs. Arabs in our colloquial language means the Bedouin.
Okay.
The people who are like Bedouin, basically, because it used to be a heavily tribal area where like the you know the traditions of Arabs and tribes and it was held really strongly there.
And so it's not called Jabal Druze? Is that?
It is called the Jabal Druze, but we ourselves we call it Jabal al-Arab.
Okay.
More than or Jabal al-Huran.
Interesting.
The Mount of Huran.
And it's congruent. Like it's not like certain pockets are Druze. It's like that whole area is Druze, right?
Yeah, that whole area is about 95% up 95% or so Druze. There are about like 5 to 7% Christians, and there are a little bit of Sunnah, basically tribal, the Bedouin Sunnah there. And they are participating very, very heavily in the demonstration every day in demonstrations in Sweida right now, and they hold their own banner like the Ashair al-Sweida or Ashair al-Janub, the tribes of the south, as they call themselves.
I see.
And they are the linking. They are very proud to be from Sweida, and they are trying to and they are welcomed very, very warmly in the protests as well. The thing is that the Assad regime tried really heavily invested in trying to make a sectarian war in Sweida between Druze and Sunna tribes, and for a moment he managed to actually cause a conflict in the 2000. trying to suppress the revolution that the Suwayda started in 2000 against Bashar al-Assad. And he was like just new, just sitting on the seat. The seat is not even warm under his royal arse, you know. So the thing is that he tried to actually suppress that revolution and that protest by sending tanks and to Sweida and trying to make it into a sectarian war between the Druze and the Bedouin instead, and use the very dirty tactics, like for example slaying some like donkeys and animals and putting their dead bodies on the graves of Druze. And then they spread the news that those Bedouin tribes did it.
Yeah.
So it's an insult.
There was a lot of that kind of thing happening with the what's it called, the truffles. You know, the truffle. I forgot what like the people who. I don't know what the word truffle is in Arabic, but do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
Okay, so
just
like
explain about it.
And so in the Syrian desert, like people were digging up these like. They look like kastana, but a little bigger.
I see. Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
الفطر. Okay.
الفطر, yeah, it's technically فطر. كمعة. That's what it is.
كمأة بالهمزة.
كمأة. Okay. كمأة. Yeah, and so there was a lot of like massacres going on of truffle pickers, and a lot of them were in that region, right? And a lot of the sudden, like there's just fingers being pointed everywhere, and it's very clear that that's what the intention was to stir up that kind of conflict in the south.
Basically, the Iranian militias are the number one reason, like not the only contributor of this massacre, because they always like do the same thing, the same fingerprints, the same, you know. But the regime tried to spin it that ISIS is attacking.
Exactly.
Why would ISIS attack like people who are collecting some kamas from the ground? Like it doesn't make sense. And later on, if you try to trace who is controlling the market of this kama, it's millions of dollars worth of market, and it's only controlled by the Iranian militias. So
and so like where
they keep monopoly basically by killing any competitor.
Yeah. And but I'm going back to like the north now, because we know that like Druze, like the Jebel Druze or like Sweida, it's like a pocket where there's a minority group, but they're the majority there. Okay.
Yeah.
But in the north, Kurds are a little more spread out, right? Yeah. Like Afrin was the only place that was like fully almost.
Kurds are mostly minority in the areas they only control right now. Like, you know, they are very like hardly like 5% or 10%.
So
in
now
the areas
Rojava, the Kurdish state, is literally occupying every other ethnicity to connect their few pockets where they are the majority. But see, this is how. When we're talking about Syrians not actually being very sectarian, Assad made us more sectarian, but like the very beginning of how this started is when you create borders, you're creating minority groups. You know what I mean? Because like you're literally playing a game of inclusion and exclusion, and it's eventually like you're gonna come in between, because there's a Kurdish. Like if you wanted to connect Hasake and Afrin, you have to go through. I don't know. Is it Tal Abyad?
Either you go through Turkish borders inside Turkey to keep it within the Kurdish majority, or you need to go through the Arab areas and connect it to.
And that's when they decided to go through that. They used they didn't use ISIS, but they fought off ISIS, and after capturing territory from ISIS, they just stayed, rather than giving the land back to who it was administered by. Or giving like the opposition, or even just trying to collaborate with them, but they
but even this discussion per se is actually falling in the trap that they try to promote by their propaganda. I do not care as an Arab who rules me, whether a Kurdish president or a Kurdish government or an Arab government or whatever. I just want someone who would not arrest me if I speak up. He would not like kill me under torture for a like on an opposition Facebook group. That literally happened to many of my friends.
Yeah.
only for a like on a Facebook group, Facebook post that is against Assad, they got arrested and they got tortured to death. Like it's you cannot believe this. Even taking a video of a protest is you are risking your life.
But see, this is continue. Sorry.
When Syria started, I'm like, I just need to hammer this point home because it's very key and important. When Syria was founded, the first person who represented Syria, even in the UN, by the way, Syria is a founding member of the UN. To be like, if you don't know, like, Syria is a big deal. The person who did that, he is called Faris Bek El-Khoury. Faris El-Khoury. He's a Christian, and he was the prime minister of Syria and the ambassador for the UN.
And he was elected.
And he was elected, and he was even held high in a Friday prayer in the Great Mosque of Damascus. They held him over their shoulders, and there's a story for that, by the way, if you want me to tell it.
Sure.
Okay, so basically, when before the French mandate, when Goro sent their the warning to Syria, it was a kingdom by then, and the king was Faisal, and the defense minister was Yusuf Al-Azmi. So the Goro, General Goro of France, sent a warning that if you don't dismantle your army and allow us to take mandate of Syria, we are going to fight you and occupy you by force. And we are here to protect the Christians of the East.
Yeah, I know this. I heard this. He says
Christians of the East.
And then he says, La ilaha illallah.
Yeah, the prime minister, the Christian prime minister of Syria back then, went to the Friday prayers in the Great Mosque of Damascus. He actually interrupted the khatib, which is a huge thing. Like, as a Muslim, you shouldn't do that ever. Like, they would kick you out if you do it. So he actually had the courage to actually interrupt the khatib, and he shouted that Goro is sending a warning that he is here to protect the Christian of the East. The moment one French soldier set foot on a Syrian soil, I announce with all the Christians of Syria that we are converting into Muslims until we kick the French occupation out. And everyone started shouting and like holding him and shouting that we are one, united Christians and Muslims. We are one. We are Syrians. You know, and it was a very key moment of Syrian history.
Because he was a. Like, at the time, the most potent force was pan-Arabism. So he was an Arab nationalist, and that worked. And and people who, if we try to be Syrian nationalists, people who call themselves pan-Syrianists or Syrianists, those people are like SSNP. They don't. That's not necessary.
Sometimes they can go sometimes radical into that direction as well. Like,
what we really want, like what you were saying is, you know, you just want someone that doesn't arrest you, and it doesn't matter if they're Arab or Kurdish. But when the revolution started, even Assad was a good option. Like, even we didn't demand that Assad should leave until like he started killing, massacring 100 and 120 people a day. That's when we started to say, oh, then Assad should fall. Even before then, it was just don't limit the security forces, remove the martial law that has been in effect since 1960. And Erdogan apparently in 2011 went to Assad and said, your people like you, and if you were to just do a little bit of reforms, you would be a hero in this country right now.
Even fake ones. Like, we were stupid enough to buy fake reforms. Like, we wouldn't even.
You were in Sweida at the time, or no? You were in Damascus at the time.
I was in Damascus at that time. Yeah.
And did you guys hear about like Morsi and everything happening in the rest of the Middle East?
That's very ironic here, because in Syria you would be very involved in the deep politics of Venezuela and in US elections and stuff like that, but you know nothing about what is going on in your neighboring city, like in Daraa. It would be a total blackout for you. You are not allowed to.
So
like, even if you if you are watching Al Jazeera news or like BBC or CNN news in Syria, that's a crime that you would be arrested for, even though there is no law banning that. But someone would write you a report that you are sympathizer with the revolution, and they would just take you.
So there was no news being reported about Tunisia or Libya or Egypt at the time?
No, we were able to hear about that, but of course, you know, we were following day and night, you know, without sleep, and we all felt that we are part of that. Like,
Yeah.
you know, we started with that the borders are not really are not a really physical division or barrier between us. Especially so in the Middle East, and like in the great Syria, the historical Syria, and the same applies to the whole Arab region. When I watched the demonstrators in Maidan al-Tahrir, in the Tahrir Square in Egypt, or in Tunisia, or in Libya, I felt I am there. Like I felt I want to be there. I felt I am with them, like heart and soul. And it doesn't feel like. It doesn't feel that, oh, this is a different country. It feels that it is your country.
Well, but there was a lot of people in like, there was a lot of Syrians that watched the Arab Spring and thought it would never come to Syria. Like, it's just impossible, because like, Egypt can have a revolution, even though Egypt is pretty like police state too. But Egypt could have a revolution, but people thought it would never come to Syria. You know. But it did, and
the direct reason of the Syrian revolution starting was few school kids, you know, writing on the wall of their school, "Ijak الدور يا دكتور." It's your turn next, doctor.
Yeah, I wish it rhymed in English
your turn
too.
After in the I can make it rhyme, but yeah.
Oh, you can? I've tried to think about it.
I write some poetry sometimes, so in English and Arabic.
I used to, I did spoken word sometimes in high school, and I love like writing things that rhyme, and I love like poetry, but the Ishaq al-Dor ya Doctor is just so poetic. I wish it came out as great in English.
And they were arrested and tortured, those school kids.
I know,
the regime arrested the whole class and they tortured them, and that's how
Hamza Ali al-Khatib
No, Hamza al-Khatib was even after. He was in a protest going from the towns around Daraa.
Oh yeah.
All going in like peaceful marches to break the siege on Daraa, and Assad regime decided to shoot them, to mow them with bullets. You know, literally mow the hundreds of people with bullets. Yeah,
because that like Hamza was taken. Wait, but Hamza was
from that. Was taken from one of those protests. Like he was actually arrested.
Didn't he also do graffiti or something?
No, he was just marching with the people for Daraa. And they arrested him and they tortured him. They mutilated his body. Even they cut his genitals, and they really did brutal things to him. And
and they did that after calling their parents. They called his parents, and they said like he'll come back safely or something, and they didn't. They delivered him dead.
Yeah, Assad in the first days of the revolution, he actually was consenting to the demands of the people. They were demanding that he would remove his cousin, who is the head of the security branch in Daraa, who actually tortured and kidnapped those kids. And at the same time, he was saying, "Yeah, I will do that," and we are going to hold everyone accountable. And he was telling them this while he is ordering his tanks to go to Daraa at the same time. So, yeah. And that also applies to Suwayda. Like Suwayda, when there was a siege on Daraa, the people who actually, if you ask anyone from Daraa, they would tell you that their only way of getting food, of getting bread, of getting medicine within this, like inside the siege, is through the neighbors in Sweida, the towns and villages to the east of Daraa. And people from Sweida were risking their lives to take like a bag of medicine or a bag of food or whatever into Daraa.
And there's there's not enough stories like in the world to tell about Syrians building networks of cooperation and solidarity to make the regime unnecessary, so that they would never have to depend on them. You know, like did you ever hear about Omar Aziz?
Yeah,
and the Tansiqiyat, you know, like Tansiqiyat.
coordinations.
The local coordination committee.
And by the way, the coordinations were very, very bright and peaceful idea and very civil idea to have like groups that will run the activities and run and organize all the revolution in each local area, which is a really nice thing. But even those coordinations were heavily infiltrated by the Assad regime.
Wow.
And for example, Tadamun coordination, for example, I will tell you one story. For example, the Assad regime, with the help with Iran and Russian electronic armies, they actually tried to put like a bugged version of Skype, because in Syria, even before the revolution, there was a ban of any American companies providing any services to Syria. So Microsoft could not even provide services to Syria. Skype will not work in Syria. You cannot download it in Syria from the official site.
Mm-hmm.
So we had to go in a workaround to try to hack it or to get it from like unofficial sources, you know. And Skype was the only trusted and like safe enough app that we could use to communicate between each other and organize like a demonstration or whatever without being monitored and controlled by the regime, you know.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is that the regime, with the help of Iranians and Russians, started to spread a lot of bugged Skype software. And if one in the whole group of coordination, you know, in Tadamun, one of our friends actually installed that bugged software, and because of this person, the whole list of people he talks to and all the conversations with them and all the groups he is in, they were available for the regime, and he managed to actually arrest a lot of people there, and even some of them were tortured to death, lost their life. You can tell how really like dirty the regime is, how really tight.
And it's easy. That sounds like it was very easy to do, because it's honestly you're a revolution. You're trying to be an open like committee. You're trying to, you know, everyone's invited. Everyone's invited into the coordination committee. You're not going to be selective about it. And so obviously, infiltrators.
We were really selective.
Really?
It was really selective process to even get like into such a group, because we were very, very scared of any infiltration from the regime, you know. Because, for example, when we went to the Midan funeral demonstration to bury our friend Muhammad Ayham Samman, who was shot the first guy to be shot in Midan, by the way, Allah yarhamu, may his soul rest in peace. This young guy was shot, and now we wanted like to go in a demonstration to bury his body, you know, in a funeral, angry funeral with some like a protest. Basically, it turns into protest. Once we start chanting, the regime would come and kidnap the body. They would start shooting at us. So we would have to run and drop the body, and then the regime would come and kidnap the body. And then after a while, we managed to chase the Shabiha and retake the body from them, only using like stones and stuff like that, because they are within the Midan area. They are surrounded basically with people. They cannot have full control of the situation, but at the same time, they have bullets. We have stones. Okay, so it took us 4 days. 4 attempts, 4 days, and the way it happened to bury him in the 4th day, you know, the way it happened, every day we would announce in the coordination that like 6 different positions that the body would be. We would hold like a protest and a funeral from that mosque to that route, to that street, and it would be 6 different places. So the regime would spread his forces thin all over the neighborhood in 6 different squares and 6 different places, and then suddenly the body would appear from one house. It would be hidden in one house secretly, nobody knows. Suddenly it would appear from there and just join from a tiny alley into the main street where people are waiting, and people would just grab a group around it and start the march and the protest. And then the regime would come and start shooting us, and we'd start running from one. And if you think about Midan is like, as all Damascus is very tiny alleys that go in a maze type, you know. So it was really like really brutal, really dramatic, really. And even when we were doing it, we were not afraid. Like when you hear the first shot, your heart falls to the feet, and you are like you hit the maximum scared level. but after that, like it feels unreal to you. It feels like you are in a video game, or
or
you
in
are
a dream.
in a movie. Yeah, you're
The only
you know.
time I've ever had an experience where I felt like I could have been shot at is in a dream, because I've never experienced that
Yeah,
before. And so I feel like if,
hope you never do, but
inshallah, no, inshallah, never.
it's very, very traumatic. Yeah.
Yeah. And like if, um, yeah, no, I forgot what I was going to say. Sorry.
Yeah, and by the way, the regime shot more than 4 people in the next day for the funeral. You know, like you take a funeral of one person, they shot four
Killed
more.
more people.
You take
Yeah.
you go on funeral to bury those four. He shoots even more.
Yeah.
Like that's how it escalated. You know.
Yeah. And, I wish I was in Damascus at the time, because I actually
Yeah.
feel like it would have been a lot of fun, even though it's very dangerous and stuff.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was. I'm sure it was.
People don't have a sense of danger when they are like you lose this, because like your brain is not even able to understand
Because it's a
the
dream.
risk or
It's
the
like a
danger.
dream.
It's
Before
too much.
then,
It's too much. It just breaks the level that your brain can handle. You know, so it always feels that the risk and the death is not real to you anymore.
because
And
you
that's why
never.
like people feel very, very brave. Like they will go into like crazy things, doing like crazy, like you would, for example, in when the regime actually surrounded and sieged Yarmouk and Tadaman. I was there in the first siege. That wasn't as tough as the second one. I managed to flee Tadaman just in between. If I want to go to get bread to eat, Assad actually shelled all the bakeries that are nearby, so I had to go to a farther one, and I needed to cross 2 streets that were that were sniped. They had like a monitoring them, and it was for us like a game that we do as a normal thing. Like now, after I'm back I've got out of Syria and I'm in a safe country, and I'm thinking back about it. I'm literally like shaking and scared just by the thought of it. Okay, but back then it felt that it is just a normal thing. That's the norm. That's we thought like everyone does this. Okay, so I needed to actually run and race the sniper bullet, and the sniper would always be too slow to kill me, and it would hit like half a meter behind my foot, and I'm like, that's the normal thing to do. It's not even something weird or strange. The same even before the Assad, for example, like it was very normal for us that a president in a republic is elected in an election. He's the only runner, the only runner, and he gets like 99.999% of the votes, and that's normal. Like we
And
didn't
it's
even feel
and it's
this is
normal
weird.
for
No.
kindergartners to have to chant Allah Surya Bashar.
Yeah, to
That's
have the
normal.
salute, the Nazi solution, and like salute Assad like that. We did it every morning, every day. It was very normal for us.
Yeah.
It was very normal for us that we are suppressed. We are the walls have ears. We cannot say anything or do anything, because it was normal for us that we never discuss politics.
And even when my family would call back to Syria, we would use code to talk. Yeah, like if my mom heard something in the news about an upcoming siege or something, or an upcoming I don't know what you call it, where like if the army was gonna
campaign or
whenever she'd hear about it, she'd just tell my mom, oh, like, don't go outside, it's hot today, it's gonna be very hot today.
Yeah, it's gonna rain, or like we would always like talk on the mobile with each other, like, oh, how is the weather there? Oh, it's raining very heavily, and it would be sunny, but we know what we are talking about. It's raining means it's raining bullets, it's raining lead.
That's crazy. And I should have written more questions down.
Oh, I have a lot to tell. Like if you want to focus on Suwayda a little bit, I would go there, because our meeting was originally planned to be about Suwayda, but we ended up talking about Syria in general, and that's
fine.
Also another point that like I do not feel as a person from Suwayda. I feel
I actually
Syrian.
No, I didn't want, like, I wanted to talk about Sweida, and I didn't want the whole thing to be about Sweida. I love that this is great, like this has gone really well. I didn't want, I even felt bad to try to ask you like questions about Druze because I can research
No,
that
I
stuff
don't mind
myself.
it.
But
I'm happy to clarify that actually.
yeah,
Like,
no, because I don't
uh,
like I didn't just get you on to talk about like the Druze
yeah,
people or just Sweida. Like I still want the experience
yeah.
that I never got to live as a Syrian in Syria during the revolution because I left in 2002. So
Yeah.
I'm
Many
always
Syrians
really
were
happy to.
many people from Sweden were actually arrested or killed or shelled by the Assad regime in places in Homs or in Aleppo or whatever. They were, for example, helping children or teaching, like educating children in the areas under the Free Syrian Army, or even fighting for this Free Syrian Army. The head of one of uh, the anti tank divisions in the Free Syrian
Mm,
armies was actually a person from Sweden, from my hometown. So there is no such division,
yeah,
between
that's why it was called the
uh,
Free Syrian
yeah,
Army. It was nothing about Arabs. It was nothing about
yeah,
the Islam
not
Army.
the
It
Sunnah
wasn't.
army or
Yeah, it
whatever. Yeah,
was not the Kurdish
and
Army
and the,
either.
the, and it's not one thing. Like when you talk about the Free Syrian Army, there's like
Hmm.
a lot of stages. The people who were in the beginning of the Free Syrian Army are not at all connected or related to the people who are now claiming to be Syrian Army,
Yeah.
who are like under Jolani or under Turkish mercenaries or whatever,
Hmm.
who are actually now just replicating the same oppression that the regime
Hmm.
used to do. Now they are doing it in the north of Syria. So it's not even connected. But if we want me to go back to Syria, there's to Sweida, there's a really key moment in Sweida that actually got the Assad like really angry and fuming against Sweida, is that when there was Sheikh Abu Fahd Waheed al-Balous. This sheikh, he just stood up and started to establish like a little group of men, mostly from a religious Jersey background, but and committed, like practicing Druze mostly. But his goal wasn't like a Jersey goal or a religious goal. His goal was to protect all people inside Sweida from being arrested. Basically, Assad used to come to Sweida to search for people who are defecting or not drafting to his army, to force them, to arrest them and force them into army. So people started to actually like try to defend against that. If you come and arrest me, or arrest, for example, one of my friends was arrested and was taken to the conscription unit in his village. The whole village just surrounded that conscription unit, and they sieged them, and they never allowed them to take him
Hmm.
the army. And they managed to force that. In Sweden, they managed to force that.
Yeah,
That's
yeah, yeah.
happened anywhere else in Syria.
There is. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, this person,
Hmm.
Abu Fahd Waheed al-Balous, this sheikh, he is the one that firstly publicly called that we call for the end of conscription in Sweden. We are here to protect our youth, is here to protect our Suwayda governorate, and anyone inside it is protected, and the regime is not allowed to arrest it. Okay, even if this person is a Sunni defector or a Christian defector, or whoever, even if he was from outside the Suwayda, he is protected by the Suwayda people. That's the thing, and that's really hit a very like sensitive nerve for the regime. Uh, this person was receiving daily threats that the Assad will kill him and assassinate him, and he publicly spoke on video and on record, saying that if I am assassinated anytime soon, the persons who are threatening me are Wafiq Nasser, the head of security in Sweida, working for Assad, the Assad regime, and the Hezbollah terrorist group that works for Iran militias. He named them by name. Okay, so only few days after, or few weeks after rather, he was assassinated in the most revengeful way. The Assad regime actually planted a huge blast bomb. What do you call it? Like
Sure, mine.
the roadside bomb. The one, the
Okay,
huge one.
IED.
Yeah, IED, yeah. So it was he planted a huge IED on the road where he was expected to be coming back from a visit to another town who was collecting like support from that town. And the first blast goes off, killing and injuring a lot of the Dignity men, the group he has established, the Sheikhs of Dignity, or the Dignity men, Rijal al-Karama. People went there to try to rescue the wounded and try to carry, like to rush them to hospital, never expecting, not in a million years, that the Assad regime and the Hezbollah terrorist group will actually plant another bomb in at the door of the hospital. People were crowded there in video. You can see videos of that. They were crowded in hundreds and thousands, you know. And once the ambulances and like the rescue cars arrived to the hospital, the second bomb went off. It was so huge that even like it was like a wide street. Even the buildings on the other side or the opposite side of the hospital, the third floor, there was like a family of my friends. All of them were burnt to death by that blast. So it was a huge one, and it was one of the biggest blasts that like in Suwayda's history, basically. So he tried to kill that, and not only it didn't even end there. He went at the same time this blast was going on, and people are just trying to run to see what's going on and try to understand what's going on and try to deal with it. He at the same time was sending a huge force to the Mazra'a village where Sheikh Balous is like the headquarters of him. He's originally from that town, by the way. So they sent it to capture the other people who were his right hand, basically. They arrested him and took him and forced him, after like a lot of torture and even threatening to kill his wife and his children. They forced him to actually admit that he was the one planting that IEDE, and he was the man behind the assassination. And then he magically committed suicide in prison after the interview. So like they didn't only kill Al-Balous, they killed his like basically vice leader, or the person who was supposed to take in and fill in case of emergency.
So they uprooted they
uprooted, yeah, like everything basically in one hit. And it was very, very dramatic. And as a response, in that exact night, the Sweida didn't even calm at all. Like all the security forces and the army and the checkpoints of Assad, they were all withdrawn even before the blast, like as if it was planned ahead. You know, the people went at that moment. They went to the Sahat al-Rais, the president square, because it has like a huge statue with 5 shawarma, as we call it, like khamsa shawarma, statue of Assad, of Hafez al-Assad. In the middle of the city, and they actually broke it down, and they literally urinated on it on video. And since then, the Assad never dared to actually raise that statue again. It's now kept behind the administrator, the administrator of the transportation administration. There was like a little back yard of it where a lot of trash there, and like you know, it is videoed that it was kept there in a bag there. It's a huge statue, but still kept there. They never dared to put it up again since then, in 2015. And today, when you see the people demonstrating in Suwayda and raising the flag and standing on a like pedestal, that pedestal is the actual pedestal for that statue. The statue used to stand there.
That's where it used to be.
And now there is a picture of Sultan al-Atrash instead.
Nice. Inshallah, there will be a statue of him someday there too.
I hope so.
Yeah, you said it's just funny. شو يعني خمس شاورما شو يعني?
Oh, that's just an inside joke for Sweida people. You wouldn't understand. So
okay.
Do you want me to explain?
Yeah,
it's just there was a shawarma restaurant, a very nice one in Sweida. Just in front of the statue was standing and like having his hand like that. Okay, it's a weird design. Like they have his hand like spread like that,
Like waving.
and there was exactly it's like waving, but it's like 5 fingers like that, you know. So yeah, and the restaurant was just in the opposite side of this square, and so it's like he was just in continuous request for
That's
5
so
sandwiches
funny.
of shawarma. So Sweida people always called it like Timthal, the idol of 5 shawarma or
That's
5
hilarious.
sandwiches of shawarma.
That's really funny.
Yeah.
Oh man, something about shawarmas in Syria, like that's that made it
By the way,
even more special.
Even though it is the best restaurant in Sweida, but I need to be honest here. If you need to eat a really good shawarma, go to either Yarmouk or to Midan. Never have it in Sweida. Like, it's not even close enough.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah.
I thought it would be good anywhere in the Middle East, as long as
Yeah, of course, but
you know,
not a comparison. You know.
yeah, okay, yeah, no, because
if
I
you
know
want
like,
to go to Sweden and have something, have the Mansaf. You know, they even like the regime tried to spread the news that those people are not actually Sweden is not coming out for revolution or for freedom or dignity. They are only hungry people. It's a revolution of hunger. You know, as to shame it, as to try to split between us and like not allowing the other trying to stop other Syrians
and to blame sanctions
to show any support,
and so that they can say that it's the sanctions' fault.
Yeah.
It's US's fault.
Yeah, exactly. But the main reason is actually to split, to like if I say it is a revolution of hunger, people who were bombed and who were like kidnapped and killed and whatever, they would not sympathize with Sweida. Okay. So it didn't work, of course. But in response to that, the people of Sweida actually tried to express peacefully that they are not going out for hunger because there's no single banner or single chat at all in Sweida regarding like economics or hunger or whatever. Even though the economy is really bad, it's literally like people are dying of hunger, literally. But people are not. They know the reason. The key problem is not hunger or economy. It's the person who destroyed the economy. It's the person who made them hungry. Okay, who the person who stole all the resources. So
a lot of articles.
In response to that, they actually went and introduced the very big and traditional mansaf of Sweida. It's like burghul and like meat and lamb and like it's a very and with a lot of salmon Arabian
Samne?
what do you salmon Arabi, not any salmon.
I don't know. It's
what is it in
lard,
English?
I guess lard.
Marguerite?
Margarine.
Margarine, Arabian margarine, and you know, it's very traditional, and we are very proud of that. So if you want to have that, never have it anywhere except in Sweida. That's the real mansaf, you know.
Sounds good. Have you ever been to Golan or Jolan?
The Golan is actually occupied by Israel. But
Majd al-Shams or...
Yeah, it is under the Israeli occupation, but the people there are also Druze as well, and we relate to them. Even sometimes, like they are family relations. And
but wait, you can't travel into Majd al-Shams?
No,
from Sweida.
It's under Israel. No. It's under Israeli occupation.
But they
cannot travel to us.
Don't they have Syrian citizenship though?
That's a very long and separate discussion. They have Syrian citizenship. Israel tried to force them to drop that and take the Israeli citizenship and become Israeli citizens. But they are known for their refusal of that. They are always like even during the Syrian revolution, they kept demonstrating with us, holding the Syrian flag. They sing our songs, they chant our chants, they have our habits and our
but it's administered
part of the Syria,
but it's fully administered by Israel. I thought there was still
Israeli occupation. It's like
but there's a line, and there's a part that's Assad and there's a part that's Israel, and there's and the part that's Assad, like that's still in that's not occupied, like
the part is that's not occupied is Quneitra part. Which is mostly Sunni parts. Not there are some towns like Hadar and whatever Druze, but most of it is Sunni part.
Okay, and so where's Majd al-Shams?
Majd al-Shams is exactly on the border, but from the Israeli occupied side.
Okay, And
Yeah.
so no one in Sweida can just travel into Golan?
No, there are certain things like if you marry a person, like if a girl, for example, or a guy from Sweden marries someone from Jolan, they allow him under the UN coordination to actually pass through the border,
Mm-hmm.
but they will lose any chance of getting back to their family. They are forever banned from going back. And for once a year, they used, for example, to send a group of sheikhs, like only highly religious figures. They will they are allowed to come from Jolan and even from Palestine, Druze, to come to for a religious visits for a few days in Sweida, then come back, which is also facilitated by the UN. But other than that, it's just a strict border.
Okay, because I know like
There
people
was the
go.
event when people from Yarmouk actually broke into that border, and many of them were shot, including some of my friends. Israeli snipers actually killed 17 persons and wounded 475 or more,
What year is this?
and many of them it's 2011.
Oh wow.
And it was, yeah, it was, I was there trying to rescue some of my friends, and one of my, like Inas Shreita, for example, she was like few months away from graduation in my university. She was my university classmate, and she was shot in the head only for waving a Palestinian flag on the borders
And this was part of the.
in front of my eyes, in front of her mother's eyes.
Oh my god.
And actually that was a key moment. There is a lot of details there. I'm not gonna go into that, but basically the next day when we tried to hold a funeral, an angry funeral, for because Assad even stopped any ambulances from coming to rescue us. So we didn't even have any like any tools, anything to
So
try to
Israel
even stop the wounds.
Israel
Israel
shot
was,
people and he didn't allow them to
yeah,
get
yeah, and there was
rescued.
shapiha. I personally went to a bus full of shapiha, pointing to them that there was a sniper, Israeli sniper, who entered from the Syrian land and shooting us from behind.
Oh my god.
But they ignored it, and they started like hiding with the curtain closed inside the bus, the huge like bus. Anyway, the day after, that's the really key moment for Yarmouk. People were like holding a huge funeral. At least 1 million people, or more, at least 1 million people, like from the full size of the street. Yarmouk street is a huge street. From the beginning of Yarmouk to the end of it, a huge sea of people marching. Okay, all of them angrily chanting against Assad and holding those people, and against Israel, of course, but against Assad because he was conspiring with Israel against those people. You know, he ordered the Jabha Shabiya Shabiha. Those are Palestinian group that are resistance. You know,
Yeah.
but they are actually they never fought against Israel. They just fought against their own people.
Syrians and
So
Palestinian Syrians.
against Syrian and Palestinians. So they opened fire and killed a 10 years old boy. People lost their mind and tried to attack those people, and they started like they caught one of the guys that actually opened fire, and they stabbed him to death. And then for 2 years, it was a massacre. The Israel killed 17 and wounded 475 or so. In 2 days, the Jabha Shabiya, the Popular Front of the Liberation,
GC
for the liberation of Palestine,
and
General Headquarters,
Tamam.
GC, or General Quarters, or something.
Command.
General Command, yeah. Those people killed, alongside with the other forces, Assad forces, killed from people of Yarmouk and Palestinians and Syrians in Yarmouk more than Israel killed in 70 years of occupation.
Yeah.
They killed them in 2 days. And since then, Assad started to really have also a brutal revenge against Yarmouk. Before then, the 3 months before this incident, Yarmouk was literally almost autonomous. Assad didn't have any way of like arresting anyone, because we felt as Yarmouk and Tadamun, if you I want to explain it, it's a place where people sought refuge from everywhere around Syria. You would find the Druze, you would find the Palestinians, you would find the people from Hama, from Homs, from there, from everywhere, even Alawis, everyone is there. And we had created our own unified identity. So we have our own dialect, Yarmoukji, and we have our own, and it's like our own tribalism, if you say, we come from different
and it's also armed too. There was different. It's also an armed community, no?
No, we were not. Like the armed communities were Hamas and were the Popular Front, the Jabhat Shabiya.
But every Palestinian refugee camp is usually has like...
No, not the same. It was civilian camps. It has some resistance groups that are actually run by the regime. Like it's just a militia by the regime mostly. Okay?
Yeah. But like everyone's family is either Fatah or
you would find that, but it's mostly a peaceful political thing. It's not an armed thing,
Yeah.
But anyway, if you go by that, like all Syria was armed, but literally nobody had. Everyone was civilian,
Yeah. I guess I'm confusing it with like Lebanon, because Lebanon.
Yeah, Lebanon is a total different story. It's a little bit more than this. Yeah. So in Yarmouk, we had our own united identity. And that actually was very annoying for the regime, because when he tried to, for example, arrest anyone who in Yarmouk, for example, even before this, and under the Assad's control, we used to paint the Syrian flag of revolution on the walls, the independence flag, this one behind me.
Even before 2011?
We used to, not before. It's after 2011, but in the early months where the Assad's control over Damascus was complete. Yeah. Before the Free Syrian Army and stuff. So we were able to paint that flag. We were able to play the songs from Sarut and Qashush loud in the street. Feeling very safe that nobody would get us even. And some other people in Yarmouk will play like the songs that support Assad. Okay? It was literally some sort of Hyde Park for 3 months.
Hyde Park? Okay?
Yeah, Hyde Park in London, where everyone can speak their mind.
No, it's
a park in London that's famous for like debates and political debates and stuff.
Oh, okay.
So we used to hold political debates among each other and talk politics for the first time ever. Like trying to, we were very virgins into this. Yeah. So for 3 months we were feeling free, because if Assad sends anyone to do anything in Yarmouk, everyone were against those forces. No matter if you are supporting Assad or against him, like nobody takes a follow Yarmoukji,
So 3 months you guys just had a good time, huh?
Of freedom, good time, yeah.
And you were there?
Assad didn't. Yeah, I was there.
Yeah.
Back then. Yeah. Assad didn't allow that to continue.
Of course.
And then when they opened the fire like that, Yarmouk was sieged, and how revenged he, like every bright moment of in any place in Syria, you notice that just a month or two later, Assad sieges the area. Like the videos of how he really brutally pumped Yarmouk and Tadamun. You see the video, the Tadamun massacre, the way he revenged people and civilians and Tadamun. How
there's nothing left of Yarmouk. It's all rubble, man. It's all rubble.
My house is totally.
Even now,
they actually the Shabiha actually put C4 charges after they looted our houses, or the whole building, and they took video, they sent us a video of them trying to like threatening us and laughing, and then they blew our building.
Oh my god! How did they know your number? What? They got they knew whose house it was.
Shabiha from the eastern, from the northern side of the Tadamun, which had Shabiha Nasreen. They are mostly Alawite, but it's not like some of them are even Druze, but they are very, very strictly with the regime. So there was like it's where the border was drawn,
so they could
the regime
get your address and find out like who this.
Yeah, where Amjad Youssef is from. Amjad Youssef, the one who in video shot and celebrated killing people in the Tadamun massacre.
People
and told them, like, tricked them to think that he is saving them, telling them that there is a sniper, you need to run, and pointing them out so they would run blindfolded. They would run into a huge pit, a huge hole. as they were falling into that hole, they would have fun sniping them in the air, and then they burnt their bodies.
Yeah.
And that's not only one thing. There's one video for one hole, Tadamun massacre. But I personally was interpreting for the team that was investigating this, the Dutch team, and there is a lot of things that are not published yet. Hundreds of other massacres, exact copy of Tadamun massacre that happened only in this neighborhood. If you see how the first ever airstrike in Damascus, it actually hit the Abd al-Qadir al-Husseini mosque in Yarmouk, only because that mosque actually opened its garden and its doors for refugees who fled from Tadamun. It's one of the most like brutal images of the whole 12 years of like genocide. I don't know. There's the video of that if you want to see, but it's really too tough. You need to be careful.
No, Syria is just one big mass grave.
Yeah, the Yarmouk, the way he dealt with the Yarmouk, like the bombing, the barrel bombs on Yarmouk, the siege, the brutal siege that people even started to eat the dead and eat like cats and dogs, because he
and
literally
grass and
and for example, one checkpoint used to stop people and search them if they are entering any bread inside. So one of them actually took the bread back from one of the old men, and then he was acting nice and telling him, okay, I will allow you to have this bread with you in, okay? And he gave it back to him, and trying, like, the soldier was trying to act nice to that old person, and that old Palestinian man was like, oh, thank you so much, thank you. And he was like, no, hide it, don't let anyone see it, okay? He hid it, and he was like praying and thanking for this soldier, you know, for this kind soldier. And when he got home, he found out that the soldier actually literally defecated in the back of bread.
Oh my god,
it's that like, it's not only killing people, it's
trolling. Like, it's you have power, so you can do whatever.
Yeah, I'm sorry to end with this really tough
no problem. Yeah, if you want this to be the end, we can cut it here, but
no, we can go on as long as you want.
I'm just out of.
Let's end up with a more hopeful note, I guess.
Let's try to bring it back up.
The Suwayda protests.
The Suwayda protests, you know, there's really not much to say about them. Like, they're like,
there's a lot. The history would write books about it. Trust me.
About like what? Well, I mean, like, because like right now, for example, like, think about the Deir ez-Zor clashes. Like, this is a story, you know, like, there's like a lot of like different moving pieces, but with Sweida, it's kind of like the people are just fed up. They want to protest.
Yeah, but because Sweida is always marginalized, even like, for example, Sweida had protest with the revolution and participated in the revolution from day one, okay? But you never see a protest of Sweida, for example, streamed in Al Jazeera, or you don't see it on media, because some of the media was actually concerned in trying to direct the positions as, this is Muslims against Shia, or Muslims against Alawis, or Sunnah against Iran, or what, you know. So they tried to actually suppress any demonstrations that, for example, in Babtuma, I was there when there was a demonstration by Christians. I was there by mistake, by the way. I wasn't planning to be there. I was, and there was a huge protest by Christians in the hood of Babtuma, which is in the middle of Damascus. And it didn't even make it to the people who actually took video of it and risked their lives to take a video. They sent it to Al Jazeera, and Al Jazeera never played that video.
That's not surprising at all. And yet people,
and the same happened with the demonstrations of Shahba. You can find videos online of that. Like, even in the 2012, there was a wedding party in Sweida that turned into a protest, and you can see people like they invented and like improvised a very traditional Sweida poetry. We call it like Sha'r al-Nabati or Jofiya. That's a very something that I really am so passionate about and proud of. It's very like emotional and hype type of poetry. And it, like if you say Jofia, like all of Suwayda would just jump and start in the fight. Like they are jumping around with you and ready to fight mountains, you know, to move mountains. That's exactly the feeling you get from Jofia. So they actually improvised the Jofia, the first Jofia for the Syrian revolution, and it is like saluting all the other cities around Syria and saying that we are all together against the regime, we are for the freedom, for the dignity, and you know, and you don't see that reported.
No, and there's so many parts, and even when you show people like footage and stuff, like that's what sucks is people often, and even with my intentions on YouTube is to, I think like you'd think that if the information is just out there so that people can actually see it, then they'd believe us. But even the proof isn't enough anymore. Like it's the narrative has kind of taken over to the point where like nothing can change people's minds about a lot of the conflict anymore. But I'm glad like through our conversation today, like hopefully like when people hear it and you know we've humanized the conflict at least a little bit more, and at least like people will understand it's way more complicated than it seems, because that's what I at least want to stop, is the thought stopping cliche of it's sectarian or it's this or that, and you know just let the Syrian revolution play out. Don't stop like trying to like label it and
like literally when a person who is Alawi from the Assad sect, you know, who spoke against Assad, and he was even daring Assad to arrest him, and he was hiding, you know, he was hiding with the Druze family in Jaramana, and they were trying to actually sneak him into Suwayda because he would be protected there. Nobody would be allowed to touch him or arrest him, and they were caught on the way there and the Adliya checkpoint, and even him and the person trying to help him were just disappeared, and they will be tortured and they will be killed for sure. We don't have any doubt about that. The thing is that the concept that he was actually going to Suwayda for protection, that dismantles any narrative that it's a sectarian war. No, it's not. Right now there are so many Alawi activists, so many Sunnah, so many Christians in the Sahat al-Karama, in the Dignity Square in Sweida. They are all participating. Like there was a huge gallery of drawing and allowing like kids to actually draw their dreams and aspiration. It was organized by Alawi artists. So it's exactly that. It's exactly that scares the regime. It's exactly that actually threatens the regime and brings it down. Let me add to that. Even though that this person didn't arrive to Suwayda, the dignity men and people from Suwayda actually went out to kidnap some of the Assad officers from the checkpoints around Suwayda, and demanded the release of this person in return for the release of those officers. So Suwayda people in Suwayda felt responsible about protecting that person. Even he was not from Suwayda, he was from Latakia, and he was not Druze, he was Alawi. So that only because he mentioned that he's going to Suwayda, he was seeking. He didn't even mention it. Like we knew that he was arrested on his way to Suwayda. So.
And how did it work? Do you know? Did they respond?
No, they didn't. And those officers were actually mostly Sunnah and mostly people who just didn't involve themselves with the genocide and the crimes. So people ended up just giving up and just
releasing them.
Releasing them after a week, you know, because we knew that the Assad will not. If you take his own brother, he wouldn't exchange it for this person. Like he dared him, and he cannot let him go.
Because also this guy, because he that guy, I think that guy, the Alawi guy, he said something like, is he the same guy that said like, if you hate me, like
I dare you to catch me alive.
Yeah. And he also
he was actually prepared with a grenade to actually explode himself with any group
and they still
that would come to arrest him. But they managed to arrest him somehow because he had like the other person helping him or whatever. I don't know.
I forgot what I was gonna
I
say.
don't know the details about that.
Yeah, no. He also said like go and attack Israel instead of coming for me. Was that the
Yeah,
same guy? Yeah.
I think so. I think so.
That
I'm not
was
sure.
like savage
Yeah,
because at the same time like Damascus was hit by Israel,
yeah,
but Assad was more likely to go
yeah.
after him.
A voice from his own sect, from his own place or from own city, you know, trying to demand him to leave. That's something more dangerous than 1,000 radical fighters of ISIS or whatever. Actually, ISIS played for his advantage. Like he gained political support, and
Mm-hmm.
he was he was like basically using ISIS to cover all of his crimes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and the people he sent, by the way, like I told you about Luna Shibl, the
Yeah,
advisor from
she
Sweida.
scares me.
She actually threatened to attack Sweida by ISIS. 2 months later, they actually attacked Sweida, and some of them were caught alive. And when we searched them, we found security clearances from the Air Force intelligence of Assad. They have literal cards of they are working for the security
Yeah.
of Assad. So yeah,
Yeah, Luna Shibl scares me. I feel like someone who comes from Al Jazeera is media savvy and is going to help Assad.
she is very very vicious. She's like one of the, like, I don't know if you can compare her to the media propagandists of Hitler.
Goebbels. Goebbels.
Yeah, Goebbels, and I think she would be proud of that comparison. So
Yeah. You know, Aaron Maté,
yeah.
I think he's become like that guy.
Yo, Maté is stupid compared to those
Luna.
people. Like those people are, yeah,
Luna
those
is
people are
smarter.
really playing it really dirty.
Okay. Well, no, but Aaron is, come on, man. He's
But he's exposed. Like he's totally,
the West falls for it pretty well. Actually, it was more
yeah.
like his type of journalism was popular during Trump because before Ukraine got invaded, people were like becoming more open to Putin and Russia, and then like because also like 2018 Sochi,
Yeah,
and you know like it was
when he was lying about Syria, they didn't know any better to actually expose his lies. But when he started to lie about Ukraine, oh wait, we know about that.
And COVID
Yeah,
and COVID.
you don't seem to be speaking the truth. Like they started to notice that. It's just because it's something that they are knowledgeable about. It's not about like.
And man, do you ever imagine like the stuff that we don't know about in other countries like North Korea and China, you know?
Yeah, that keeps me up at night.
Yeah, man. I wish there was some way to like build inroads with all of these communities, like people from Taiwan, Hong Kong, North Korean defectors, you know, just like to I don't know, to lobby for international coalition of solving all of these problems. Like it seems like we could do it if we just tried, but like, you know.
Yeah, and this is the second time you are very close into something I want to end up with, but I'm trying to leave it for the end, so I don't know if it is a suitable moment to drop it in.
Go
It's just
for
basically, I do think that you cannot I do think that you cannot like when you try to for example have a debate with someone like Aaron Maté or anyone, you know, that is really absorbed and invested in such a propaganda or such agenda, you know, they are brainwashed. They will not even no matter how logical your argument is, no matter how much evidence you like the massacres that were committed by Assad were recorded by live streams, by video, by audio, by hundreds of thousands of evidence. Okay, each one is alone is enough to topple a whole regime. One of them, okay, like the arrest of Layan, for example, the arrest of Rani al-Abbasi. She spoke against Assad. She is the chess champion, the Arab chess champion, and the doctor. She spoke against Assad peacefully, just online. She spoke against Assad. She was arrested. Her husband was arrested with her, and 6 of her children, including they are very young, you know, like not even teenagers, like really young children. The youngest is Layan, 2 years old. And they were arrested 2012. Up till this moment, we don't know anything about them. We don't know what their accusation is. We don't know if they are alive or dead. We don't know. So this alone is enough to topple a whole regime. Imagine you are having 112,000 documented cases of forcibly disappeared. Like you cannot even imagine it. So it's not lack of evidence when you try to try to debate this or try to defend the Syrian cause in public forums. It's not the lack of evidence. It's not the lack of logical argument. Okay, it's just this will not help. This will not get into the logical part of the brain that would be able to process it, because they have the shield standing in. We need, first of all, to drop that shield to be able to have a really fruitful conversation. And the only way, I was thinking a lot about this, like in the 2015 and stuff like that, when the revolution reached a point that it is too long. It has been for like 4 or 5 years now, and the massacres are going on daily basis, and the brutality, like even airstrikes, even chemical attacks and stuff, and the international community doesn't seem to care. Nobody seems to care. We are left alone. You stand for a moment there and start to think that, what are we doing wrong? Like, how can we get people to understand what, like, you are literally defending or trying to argue online with some people who are saying that, oh, Assad never kills civilians, and you have thousands of videos that show the aircraft of Assad dropping a barrel pump and killing a whole building full of civilians. Like, how can you argue with that? How, like, it drove me really crazy, and I thought, oh, we are missing something. There is something wrong in this. Like, it feels like the more evidence you provide, the more they would dig deeper their trench in the opposite side. If you notice that, you know,
because
it's not,
I have a
doesn't make it easier for them. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I mean, do you have?
Go
do you know why? Like, well, I mean, like for my,
I figured out the reason, and I figured out a solution to that. But I'm
my hypothesis is just that if it's like, okay, like you said, like there's so much evidence. Yeah, eventually, when there's so much evidence, there's no evidence, because like when there's so like an overload of information, eventually creates that, you know, like a bed of needles, where one needle will hurt you. But if you have a bunch of needles sticking up, they make a flat surface, and you can actually step on it. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So it won't hurt that much.
That's interesting approach, by the way.
Because
really interesting
bro,
approach.
really, like if he did one bad thing that was terrible, maybe it would have been better. But he did so many bad things that it was just
that's why the response, actually, like the international response against Assad spiked in, for example, when for El-Khoury, one single child that was that drowned in the refugee trip, you know, it really made a huge change and effect in Europe. One single child when he killed Hamza al-Khatib, for example, one single attack of the 320 chemical attacks, one of them on Al-Ghouta, on Douma, actually spiked all the response from the internet. Yeah, that makes sense, actually. But what I was thinking about back then is that, okay, there is no way to even argue with someone logically, or try to change or convince him or change his mind, if he is brainwashed and he is like dug into his trench of ideological trench. You know, you cannot dig him out until you introduce the logical thinking into him. At least you build the bridge between you. The bridge is the logical approach, you know. So I found that in space, in science, because if you try to introduce science to people, you know, science is something that no matter what your background is, no matter what your belief is, we can all agree that 1 + 1 is 2, because it's math, it's science, you know. You can do it on do an experiment. If you leave an apple, it would fall to due to the force of gravity. That's something all of us we can share, we can agree to. So if you try to introduce that scientific method to someone, then you can have a language, a mutual language that you can speak with him, a bridge that you can actually try to build upon the debate or the argument, and try to convince him, or even be convinced by him. So that's a really key moment when I started to think that all of my political activism is burnout. I'm burning myself out without any real effect.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm fighting windmills, basically, طواحين الهواء in Arabic. I don't know what do you call it in English.
Windmill.
Like there's like a proverb for that.
I don't know.
Don Quixote or something like that. Yeah, Don Quixote, the one who fights windmills.
Yeah, it's the cowboy or something. Or I don't know.
No, a Spanish person that fights.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, so I felt like Don Quixote there, and I was trying to think if I introduce the overview effect, especially that I am a fan of science, NASA, So that's something I love. That's something I'm very excellent at, and I can introduce it to people first, and then that would build a huge platform and a huge community that is able to discuss other things. They would have the ears to listen to you. They would have the mind to actually try to understand what you are saying, and even try to argue against you. But it would be a logical language that we can get to a conclusion together.
I see that, and that's a beautiful, like, I'm so glad that you know, like, just listening to you, like, it feels like you really found like your passion and your purpose, and like it makes me really happy to see that, man. I think like I kind of like when I meet someone that's like overloaded with propaganda, it's like you can't just go in and start teaching them stuff. They have to unlearn what they already think they know. That's what I feel when they're so overloaded with,
But how can you do that? That's even impossible.
No, exactly. But the process of teaching them will have to include a process of unlearning what they think they know, which is like
I use one solution fit all with those propagandists like Aaron Mate. I don't know if you noticed some of my arguments with him or with like Vanessa Beeley or all
I haven't noticed
those lot. I usually always put the Shabih captcha. I designed like a meme that has like the massacre, the Tadamun massacre, and the captcha like, do you condemn this massacre or not? If you condemn it, then you are a human that I can actually try to discuss with you and argue with you. Oh, who was responsible for that massacre? Or how did it happen? Oh, the Assad is involved or not? By the way, the Assad is proven, okay, by the investigation team. He was proven that he gave the orders, and the orders went through 4 other officials until they got to Amjad Youssef. There are 4 identified by name, and there are confessions. So Assad cannot run away from the Tadamun massacre. But basically, this is a captcha. Like if you try to swerve around and not or deny or try not to even sympathize with the victims of this massacre, you are a troll. You are not. You are not a human. I cannot have.
It's like a litmus test. Yeah. Yeah, I think philosophy is also really like important for people to know, because what you're talking about, like, the scientific method is objective, but I mean, people will like, even like, okay, like, remember, like, how I'm sure like have you ever noticed how some atheists are just like not necessarily smart? Like sometimes like there used to be this perception that atheists are like super rational or whatever, but like a lot of them are just like,
but they are like us. Like there are some atheists I know that are very, very smart. For example, Qusay Bitar, he's very logical, and he even teaches and preaches about the logical fallacies.
Exactly.
But most of the people are not that.
Because they will have like I don't know. I just wanted to kind of explain how like the logic that someone has when they're discussing space might not translate like when they're talking into politics, but philosophy, like if they're introduced to rhetoric, like that's when it's really easy to tell fraud versus like genuine, in my opinion. Like I feel like
and this is actually for the reader, for the viewer. Like if you know the logical fallacies, you will not fall for Aramate agenda.
Yeah, exactly.
If you actually know the logical fallacies, you will not fall for like any rhetoric that is trying to spin around the events.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna end it here. This is a great live.
Yeah, it was really, really impressive. Thank you so much for giving me the time. I was a little bit heavy, I understand, but
No, it was a really good talk.
I am a Syrian, you understand. Like as a
Yeah.
Syrian, we are very thirsty for just a moment that we can express our thoughts, our dreams, our aspirations,
For sure.
even our experience, But we've been for 53 years we've been doctrinated and suppressed in a way that to eliminate that part of our personality. So even when we try to discuss or try to talk about something we are passionate about, or about politics or about anything, we are always like too like teenagers. We are all a mess, so you need viewers, and you personally, you should like forgive me for if I was like trying to be too heavy or too
No,
I don't
man.
know, too over there.
No. I know what you mean. Like it's something that like democracy requires practice and training, And
Yeah.
we're the first generation of Syrians to potentially have a shot at practicing it. So
Yeah. I'm really too hopeful, if too optimistic, if I'm hopeful for to be able to vote at least once before I die.
or even to return, because my parents gave up on returning a long time ago. Like my dad says he's never going to go back.
Hopefully, Suwayda protest will flip the table over Assad's head.
Inshallah, man. Okay, bro. It was a pleasure speaking with you. Inshallah, we can do this again, okay? Like anytime, literally anytime.
I'm honored to be your guest, and I'm honored to speak out for myself and for many others who actually represented by whatever I presented here and talk about.
It was my pleasure.
There are a lot of stories, a lot of things that we can tell the world. The Syrian revolution will go into the history as one of the really key moments of Syrians, since they invented agriculture, since they invented the first alphabet, and since they invented the wheel. So it would be like the moment when they invented a new system,
No, it definitely feels like like the way the French Revolution is remembered, or Marie Antoinette. Like Assad will be like that.
Because we are not fighting Assad. Assad regime fell in the second or the first or second month in the revolution in 2011. We are fighting a whole political international order that actually kept Assad alive and kept him supported, and it's a whole way of like we are changing the way international media is covering human rights violations and genocide. We are changing the way the international community would respond to genocide, the way people and public perception in the normal day, kind-hearted people who don't know anything about Syria and who took the very like first headline they see online about, Assad is fighting ISIS, so that's all we know about Syria. It's not even true, So this whole system will be changed. The system of for example, when there is a 12 years of genocide, of Holocaust, and the Security Council is not even able to take any useful step to solve that, okay, or to do anything in that regard. When the UN is unable to, or not unwilling, basically not unable, unwilling to send one convoy of aid to the areas hit hard by the in north west of Syria and south of Turkey, the north east of Syria, where the earthquake happened. It waited 11 days till everyone died until the first truck full of aid entered by the UN, and that truck was full of cleaning products to wipe and clean the floors that people don't even have anymore because they lost their houses. It does, like, it's that the image is very, 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 very ironic and very it makes me angry, it fills me with anger, and this whole system will change because of the Syrian revolution.
Definitely. And it will be a part of like the overview effect, like people will look back on it, like and see that we cannot let this happen again.
We cannot ever let any hole in this ship, in spaceship Earth that is in the other side. Oh, it's in Syria. It's the other side of the world. That we don't care. No, any hole in your ship. It would. We either survive all together or we sink all together.
Yeah, either we're all free or nobody's free. Because
exactly.
if it's Syria today, like it's your country tomorrow, and we saw that with Ukraine
tomorrow. And
exactly.
if you don't stop Putin in Ukraine, you will fight him in Germany, and you'll fight him in France,
and eventually he'll come to the US. He's so stupid enough.
He already came to the US. Like he actually mingled in the election and tried to topple the democracy.
Like hitting the USA.
So
like
it's already the waves of the tsunami are already hitting your shores. You know.
Yeah.
But this whole thing will be changed, giving enough time, giving like at least 50 years or 100 years. The Syrian revolution will be remembered as the key moment that sparked this change into a better future of humanity.
Inshallah.
Or I hope.
Inshallah. All right, bro. I want to laugh. I want to hug you. I want to cry. Like I'm feeling so many emotions right now. Ta'ala hon, habibi.
Oh my God! I would love to have a hug soon when the Assad is toppled and we
Inshallah.
are celebrating and doing the will of the Sarut. The Sarut made us all promise to do something if the Assad falls for him, and that thing is to actually pray for God and thank him in every square in every city in Syria after the Assad falls. And I'm going to do that.
Inshallah.
Even though I'm not even like a Sunni Muslim, but I'm going to do that to honor Sarut.
Inshallah, we get to see it in our lifetime, bro.